How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another video. Tomorrow is the day that we've all been waiting for. Final Zone finally opens, and we here at the Ronin Kingdom are just itching to get some fighting in. I'm super excited. Today I'm going to show you the different marches that I'm going to be running, and I'll show you the troops that I have as well. So I'll start off by showing you what's in my hospital. So I have a good amount of T4 troops in here, some Celestials, and a couple of Vestals and Ballistas, which I'm honestly not even going to touch this KVK. And then, so if we were to take those troops out to my power, I'd be at around 93 mil. Here are the troops that I currently have. And yes, I do have over 2 million T4 Celestials. I absolutely love fighting with T4 troops. They do surprisingly well. When you have full T5 tech and you have awakened heroes, they do really well even against fully maxed out T5 marches, and they're also super cheap to heal compared to T5. So once I run out of elixir for my T5 troops, I'm going to be resource healing these T4 like crazy, and I can't wait to show you all what these troops can do. So I have about 3.6 million mages. I have what is that? Almost 900k swordsmen. I converted a lot of my ballistas to T5 and then made those into these T5 Celestials that I have. The only two T5s that I actually have unlocked are Vestals and Ballistas, but I'm getting there with my infantry and knights. I'm just trying to save as many speedos as I can for converting troops for a potential greatest heights push in the future. So now that I've shown you what I have to work with regarding my troops, let's go into the different march presets that I have. So we'll go into here and click on the first one. So I'm sure as many of you have noticed, a lot of the top alliances are asking that you field infantry as much as you can. And so that's definitely what I'm going to be doing here. This is what my Gorish Skogul is currently at. I have Gorish at 555, Skogul at 551. This is actually a really good like budget or I guess like minimum investment build. It would definitely be a lot better if my troops were tier 5, but we're getting there soon. This march is actually going to be a bit flexible, so I'm going to be fielding this at times when it's asked to send a full march, but most of the time I am going to be sending a freeze ring march. So I typically like to run this with like 30 to 50,000 troops. However, if I am being focused down quite a bit, then I will increase this number so that it can survive long enough to do its job. Now let's go through each of these 4 marches individually because these are the main heroes that I'm going to be running. So both my Lilia and Velen are awakened. I have Infernal Flame at level 4, and this is the Sapphire Phaedric that I'm going to be running on it. And just to show you how much damage this can do even at 6 slots, I have COD Junkies pulled up here. This is a good website in order to help you decide how you want to build your pets. So this pet that we have here is going to be dealing a total of 2,314 damage factor. Now this is just a 2-star, and I'm actually really close to 3-starring this. I'm most likely going to 3-star this during the fighting this next week. If I were to bring this up to a 3-star, just to show you, damage factor goes all the way up to 3,800, which is pretty insane. You know, this is quite a lot for just a 6-star pet. Sapphire Phaedrics are easily the best mage pet in the game. Next march that I'm going to show you, let's go with the Thunderland Aaliyah. That way I can show you the pet on this one as well. So for this one, my Thunderland is max and my Thalia is at 551. Because I'm not running a Bert Tohar in this setup, I'm going to be running the Mirage Orb. And this is the Sapphire Phaedric pet that I'm going to be running on this. So this one is 3-star. So the damage factor for this one is 3,374. So it's lower than the other one. And the reason for that is that it doesn't have intense Plain Bloom. However, since Thunderland and Thalia don't have Scorch, Freeze, or Poison, there's really no point in having it. So those are the 2 Sapphire pets, my 2 main damage dealing pets that I have. And now let's go into the next marches that are running Sand Lizards. All right, so the next march that I'm going to be running that has a sand lizard is my Magrat and Zeta. For this one, I ended up going for more of like a minimum invest build on my Magrat. I decided that I probably wasn't going to 555 her, and so I just went with the 5-5. And then I did invest quite a bit into Zeta, and I'm going to be running Celestials on them. For the sand lizard, this is the pet that I currently have. And if you go to COD Junkies, you'll be able to see the amount of healing that it does. So for a 3-star stone aura, you do a self-healing factor of 491. So basically every march is going to be healed for 491. And so in total, this march is healing for about 2,000. And which is pretty crazy, right? This is every 6 seconds because I don't have the EOS skill. I really like how well-rounded this lizard is, and so I'm hoping to save up some pet fruit from the greatest height events to get the agility up to 270. If I am able to get that to 270 and put the EOS skill, I'm going to put here on the screen, this is how much healing this will go up to, which is pretty crazy. So let's move on to the next march. So the next march that is going to be running a sand lizard is going to be my Moo Thea. So Moo is almost awakened. I plan to awaken her after reset today. Thea is awakened as well. I have my Visage at level 3. And then this is the sand lizard that I'm running. So this sand lizard that I caught and regenerated is pretty insane. Really high intelligence, great agility. Spirit isn't too bad either. This sand lizard, if you look at the individual healing factor, it's actually lower. However, because it has the EOS skill, it's actually healing almost as much as my 3-star sand lizard that I have. So this really goes to show you that if you do invest into your sand lizards, you really don't need as many as most people are running. Like you see a lot of people running 4 to 5. But I think if you have some fully built sand lizards, you really only need 2 to 3. So that's that march there. And then I think I forgot to show you what the levels on my other artifacts are. My Mirage Orb is at level 3, and my Tear of Arbonne is at level 5. And so that is the main march setup that I'm going to be running. After I've ran infantry for a long time, and if the opportunity presents itself, I'm going to be running my 5-march mage setup, and this is what I'm going to be running for this. So the main difference here is that I'm adding another sand lizard. So I'll show you what this Burt Tohar march is looking like. I have Burt at 555-3, Tohar fully awakened, and this is what this sand lizard is running. So this is a very cheap budget sand lizard. It's not going to heal as much as the other ones. However, I would rather take this sand lizard over some other mediocre mage pet. This one has a self-healing factor 264, and it's going to be healing 3 other legions for the same amount. So in total, this is about 1,000 healing for all of my marches, which is not too bad. Now here's a secret with the sand lizards that you may have not realized, and that is that when you have marches that increase healing, the healing that you get from the sand lizard is actually going to be increased as well. So if we look at Magrat Zeta here, Zeta has this skill here that increases the healing that you get by 20%. So you're going to be getting 20% more healing from your sand lizards. And with Thunderlin, you also have increased healing, if I can find it here. Yes, 20% more shields and healing. Now, this one's a little different. This isn't healing received. This is healing provided. So if I was to run a sand lizard on Thunderlin, it would increase the healing that all of my marches would get by 20%. So Sand Lizard is a very viable choice on this. However, because I do have a good sapphire, that's the pet that I'm currently running now, but I was running a Sand Lizard before. And then we also have Moo, who also has a very similar effect. She increases the healing granted by 10% more. So this Sand Lizard is going to be healing an additional 10%. So there's a neat little trick if you didn't know before, and that's just another way that your marches are going to be sustaining and staying healthy for much longer on the field. These next setups are just slight variations. I like running Waldir Terra if I want to survive longer, and also if we're fighting a lot of tanks. Walder reduces the attack of the enemy, so your alliance is going to be taking less counterattack, and then Terra is going to give all of your legions a 15% attack bonus and also reduce the damage taken by an additional 10%. Now, you might be thinking that this isn't a whole lot. However, when you have multiple forms of healing, every amount of damage reduction goes a really long way. And as you saw at the beginning of this video, I do have the defense skin for mages, and that helps reduce the amount of counterattack damage that I take even further. So my sand lasers are really benefiting me a whole lot here. And this is the T4 setup that I'm going to be running. So once I'm completely out of elixir and my infantry are stammed out, I'm going to be running this setup here. So all of them have T4 celestials, and I'm really excited to use this setup and show you what these T4 troops can do. And this last setup here is just my staff march. So if we ever end up staffing, I want to make sure that my troops can survive as long as possible. So that's why I have 3 sand lizards and my wall deer and Terra. All right, and if you've made it this far into the video, I have some bonus setups for you. I'm just going to go through these really quick. I think that these are going to be really good for situations where you want to survive for a long time, such as when you're running momentum with Rays of Remedy. One of the biggest problems with the other setups that I've been running is that Liliathea tends to die pretty quickly, and then Bert Tohar is the one that usually falls afterwards. But here, if we pair Thea with Lilia, that's going to give it a lot more survivability. And by running the Thunder Elegy on Bert Tohar, it's going to give it some more hit points, which the March normally doesn't have. I've never tried this before, but I think it could work pretty well. And of course, Thunderlin Moo, like, they are a very good pair together. But it does kind of hurt me to not run Moo Thea because it's probably one of my favorite marches. And then one of the things I'm still debating here is when it comes to the pets. So I like running the Sapphire with Moo because of the bonus damage that they deal. But Thunderlin and Moo both have increased healing. And so if I were to put a sand laser on it, it would increase its healing by a pretty good amount. 20% from Thunderlin, 10% from Moo. I don't know if it's additive, but that could potentially be 30% increase in healing of my sand lizard. And so I'm definitely going to try both combinations there. And then if I do end up doing a 5-bomb setup, I'll simply replace my infantry march with wall deer Terra, and that's going to overall just provide even more survivability to my setup, which is going to be perfect when I run Rays of Remedy. So that's going to be it for me today. I'm really looking forward to all the fighting that's going to take place these next couple of days. I'll do my best to get some footage or screenshots of reports up for you. Obviously, I'm going to be pretty busy fighting, so that's definitely going to be the priority. But if I end up stamming out or have some little bit of downtime here and there, I'll definitely try to get something up. So I'll keep you updated on how this goes. It's going to be pretty crazy to be fighting against fully maxed marches, but I think that we're in a pretty good place where we'll be able to do pretty well, even if we're running T4. So looking forward to sharing some footage with you, and I'll see you next time.